I'm pushing the button, but it's not doing anything. Welcome to the Asian Sewist Collective podcast. The Asian Sewist Collective is a group of Asian people from around the world brought together by our shared appreciation for fiber and textile arts, and our desire to see more Asian representation in the sewing community.
In this podcast, we explore the intersection of our identities and our shared sewing practice as we create a space for Asian sewists and our allies.
I'm your co-host, Ada Chen, and I'm recording from Denver, Colorado. Denver is the traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. I'm a Taiwanese-American marketer turned entrepreneur, and these days you'll find me running my own natural skincare brand. Most importantly for this podcast, you can find my sewing at i.hope.sew on Instagram.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. I'm recording from outside of Chicago, Illinois, the original homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, and the Odawa people. I'm a Philippine-American lawyer who loves to sew, and you can find me on Instagram at Nicole Angeline Sews.
Okay, Nicole, it's been quite a bit of time since we actually recorded our last episode in season 5.
I know.
What have you been sewing? What's on your sewing table?
So today, literally today, I am feeling powerful with my staple gun.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that was not where I expected this to go.
It's never is, Ada. It never is. A while back, and I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast previously. I do remember swearing about ironing boards, freestanding ironing boards. At some point later last year, my best friend and I were just out together doing errands. Nothing special, but it's always special with your friends. But I think we went to Goodwill, and I found a homemade ironing board that sits at it's a tabletop ironing board. So it's a solid piece of wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is. Please don't ask. I don't know. And then someone, made it an ironing board shape, like an elongated trapezoid type, I think. I don't know geometry. Anyway, and then with 4 dowels installed underneath. And today I cut up an old towel and staple gunned it to the outside of to the underside of the ironing board.
Oh.
So I laid the towel fuzzy side down, so the old print was on top, and then I put the ironing board face down with the little peg legs up, and then I cut around it and stapled it, so it's sort of like a permanent padding. And my next step is going to be making a cover. So let me get your thoughts on this. The towel is a base. It's 100% cotton. It's going to be like a nice fluffy base. I know I'd read a lot about people, using cotton batting. Would you put another layer of something on it before putting your cotton cover, which is, I'm going to pick a cotton from somewhere. We could talk about that. Or would you just leave it with the towel? Because people just iron with towel, even without an ironing board, right?
I mean, I used to iron with just a towel. Sometimes in a hotel room, I'll do that too.
Yeah.
My question is, how thick is the towel, and did you take off the original batting?
It was, so to answer to your first question is the towel is not that thick.
Okay.
And the original batting, it was homemade, so it was just not keepable.
Okay. Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
I would, if it was a thinner towel, probably add another layer just in case, because you don't want to accidentally scorch your cover and the towel and then have to replace that because you staple gunned it there, and that's a whole deal. But that's me being like, I like a plush ironing surface.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking, is it another towel that I upcycle? Or I do have from, you've heard me many times on this podcast say I bought something because I'm going to do this, and it just doesn't happen. I was going to make iron oven mitts. So I have that fill that's reflective on one side, and I could maybe use that with the quilting cotton on the cover to make it another layer, and it's heat reflective as well. So I have that already, and sounds like that's a good thing to to give it another layer. That staple gun though, I don't think I've used a staple gun in many years, and it was so loud that my mostly deaf 15-year-old dog was like, "Bye."
Oh, V.
He's fine. He can't really hear it, but he did leave the room. I was like, "Oh man." But yeah, so that's what I'm working on, and I think what I will use, which is somewhat related to what we're going to talk about later, is fabric that I purchased from Japan. I was not in Japan, but they make such cute stuff, and I know you'll be talking about it. So I will probably use some of my Bishan fabric so I can
Nice.
iron and look at adorable little dogs while I'm ironing. And that's what I'm working on. Are you staple gunning anything in your current sewing practice?
Well, we don't own a staple gun, so that's
I had to buy
probably.
one. Yeah.
Oh, good call. I have been making a lot of zero waste pants, which we will also talk about some of the fabrics I've been using for that. It's from the Brigida Helmerson Zero Waste Sewing Book. And I think if you've listened to this podcast, you know how much I love the Clyde pants. They're like a wider fit trouser with some big pockets. And I really just wanted some wearable trousers over the holidays. So banged out two of those, brought one pair on vacation, came back, had bought a piece of fabric that we'll talk about, and was like, these need to be these pants. These need to be pants. Like, first of all, is what I thought when I saw the fabric. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've made three in probably the span of maybe 2 months. So quickly becoming a TNT, made my own adjustments on the crotch curve. Very happy with all of it so far. Have some other fabrics lined up to use for the pattern as well. So yeah, I think I was not really consciously looking for more zero waist pants, but it just so happened that I think it's been a few years of making the Clyde pants as a TNT, like tried and true pattern. And I've busted through the crotch seams of two of them. And I've also
Wild.
yeah, I've given away some pairs to friends and my sister if they were 12s or I messed them up. Longtime listeners might remember my two front crotch curve pair that went to my other friend that she has now busted as well. So we've talked about mending that one. But yeah, I still love that pattern. I think they did a few updates. I just wanted something that I knew wouldn't wear as much in terms of like similar fabric choice and like style and where I'm kind of going with my own personal style. So, yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Why do you think the crotch curve like wears out on the Clyde more?
I think it's because for me personally, I didn't adjust the crotch curve at all, front or back, on the pattern as I've been making it. And I think there was actually there's enough ease in it for me to wear. But over time, maybe like A, my body's changed a little, and B, I think I just am a crotch curve buster. Like that's where I got get most of the wear out of my jeans, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
pre-sewing, that's where every single one of my pairs of jeans got busted first. And I know a lot of people with like larger thighs who have that issue. I don't have the issue of like thigh rubbing in most of my Clyde pants or now as perhaps as much as I have in the past.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I've also been putting them to the test, like wearing them a lot to events, to work. And at work, I climb on top of like stools. I'm reaching for things. I'm bending down. I'm doing a lot. A lot of the time, I am wearing leggings, if we're being really honest. But when I want to look cute and wear some linen, I'm wearing my Clyde pants. So it's totally expected. I have mended them, but I've even busted through some of the mending on some of the lighter linens. So yeah, it was time to investigate some other options. I do think I'll still continue to make that pattern. Just, sometimes you need a break and then you go to something and you come back.
Well, I don't have TNTs. As we were talking, I think when you made your last pair of ZW pants, just off on Instagram, off pod, of course. And maybe we should do an episode on TNTs because I desperately want TNTs. If you can see behind me, like just this shelf is all patterns, and I don't use any of them. And I'm like at that point where I'm like, okay, where can I responsibly get rid of them? I don't want to like put them up for offer online because I don't want to ship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking at a few hundred, or not a few hundred, maybe 100 or so, just like, big four paper patterns that I'm like ready to get rid of because I just want to find my TNT anyway. Listeners, let us know if you want us to do a TNT episode, a tried and true episode. Ada can share hers, and maybe when we get around to it, we can talk about my exploration for TNT pieces. Anyway, all that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do a TNT episode, which kind of lends us to talking about the next big thing on our agenda for today's episode, which is we're doing a bit of change around here for the podcast. And this felt like the best way to let you, our lovely listeners, know. So, we've been around for just shy of 3 years. We'll celebrate 3 years in March. We've done 5 seasons in that time, which puts us at 55 episodes and almost 50,000 downloads. And we have listeners in 40 countries. And there's some that, our podcast analytics tell us is unknown. So I'm sure there's more than that.
People on cruise ships or something.
Yeah, wherever you can get the internet.
Yeah. Wow. When you lay all that out, we've done so much in the last less than 3 years. So pat ourselves on the back, you, me, and the rest of the wonderful collective. And as we got together after the end of season 5, Ada and I started to take a look at, what is working for us now and what might we need to adjust. And given the way that our non-pod lives have been going, we think that the sprint season model where we give you 10 episodes weekly just no longer works in the wider context of our current lives.
Right. So for me, I'll give you a little explainer or as much as I can, and I'm sure you'll figure out more. But um, I'm working on some big changes for my brand and for my company, expecting and hoping to grow this year and planting all those seeds. It's been behind the scenes work that has been going on for the better part of almost a year, and it's so close to being ready to share with you all. I hate pulling that line that YouTubers pull. They're like, I'm working on something secret and I can't show you, but I'll tell you. Like, I'm basically telling you that right now. Like, I can't tell you, but I can tell you it's coming soon. And I promise you will see it. And I hope you love it. And I hope that it means great things for what I can do, both inside the sewing community and kind of getting more people into sewing and all that, but also in terms of like my own work and growing that and hopefully like building a team at some point in the near future. So yeah, my personal life is also busy. I hate to be that Colorado person, but it's also ski season. And as all of the collective knows from the past 3 years, generally from January to March, my schedule goes work Monday to Friday, and then usually we're outdoors 1 or 2 days on the weekends. And we're very privileged to be able to do that. But it is something I like to prioritize in my life and something that's coming a little bit ahead of the pod in the immediate near future. But, I've been trying to figure out like what that healthy balance of what my therapist likes to call lifestyle medicine is in terms of like exercise and outdoor time and all the things that keep me fulfilled and happy outside of work and relationships and whatnot. And part of that is like, prioritizing those things in my life. So those are the other things going on in my life. And it's just been a little bit hectic. Nicole, it's like similar but different for you.
It is. And I just want to back up and remind listeners that if you've been with us since the beginning, Ada has been running her skincare brand since pretty much the beginning of the podcast and started really tiny, tiny operation. And that's when I met Ada, and that's when we started the podcast. And so to see where you are now and to know where you're going is like really incredible for the past 3 years, less than 3 years, less than 3 years. So, I'm so proud of you and the growth, and that, that growth comes with change, and it impacts, I love lifestyle medicine. Wow. Love that term. Like, what it impacts what you're able to prioritize and put energy to. And you're getting to the stage in your business where, you have to put more front end energy to continue to build. And so, um, you told me, I just remember when you had gotten your own space, it was a big deal. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that happened on the podcast, and so much has happened with your business, and it's so cool. I don't know if I could ever run a business, but if I ever decided to, you would be a wonderful role model for something like that. And
Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it's just true. Not like, trying to pump you up or anything. It's just them facts, Uh, so for me, life is lifin', and you all know that I am an attorney by day. I work in primarily the immigration law space. And as Ada and I were reflecting on like what's going on in our lives, what's going on in the next 3 months that could impact what we're going to do, like what we can do with the podcast. And I realized that I just cannot predict that far in the future. The nature of the work that I do during the day is responsive to crises often. So I do practice in a limited capacity. What my actual job is to create programs that bring in volunteer attorneys to support the immigration attorney staff. So yes, I have my own cases, but then I also have to figure out, okay, well, this crisis is happening. How can I meet the need for legal services by bringing in and training and supervising volunteers? And said in the immigration space, it's crisis responsive. And I've been in this space for, what year is it? It's 24, so maybe 7 years now. And it's just there's no such thing as a boring day, and so it's hard for me to say what's my schedule gonna be like in March. And truly it's energy, right? Lifestyle medicine. It's like, well, I know that I'm not planning any clinics, but I would like to save time to ski. I don't ski. That's Ada. It's me as Ada. But like, I don't know what my energy level's like. Maybe I'm just going to want to sit and read. Maybe I'm going to want to, cook. Maybe I'm going to want to do a getaway. I don't know what that would look like. And more often than not, it's just resting. And it's tough to plan for the pod if I can't see or have a reasonable idea of what my schedule is going to look like. And, that's just Ada and I. You all know that there are other folks on the podcast who work behind the scenes, whose voices you don't hear audibly, but come through in the work that we do. And, all of them are crucial to each episode. And, lots of things in their lives have changed as well.
Yeah. And if I think about where we were in the beginning, reflecting back to you as well, you were in a very different spot work-wise, and we went through a transition, me like kind of witnessing it from afar. And I think you've done such a good job of advocating for yourself and what you need professionally and with the pod. And so I hold you as a role model for kind of doing that own self-advocacy and also understanding the impact that your day-to-day like day job has. I'm like, wow, we should definitely commend Nicole for what she does outside of the pod. And so I'm just proud to be your friend.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, like you handle crises way more gracefully, I think, than myself or many of the people I've ever worked with in the past have. And so much respect for those skills and also for the folks who have put together the pod over the last 3 years. We've had almost 20 people kind of join the team at different varying times, take breaks from the team, depending on where they are personally, professionally, sewing wise, all that. And we would not be here without all of those folks. But again, we kind of took a survey of where everyone was at. And instead of putting ourselves through more stress to recruit new folks, onboard them, and run myself and Nicole into the ground, we've decided to kind of shift to a new model. We don't know, full disclosure, if this is a permanent shift or not, or if this is something we're just going to test for this year. But basically, our new format is going to be that we're going to release one episode a month-ish. Don't hold us to every 4 weeks. You will see it on your Instagram and hopefully in your podcast feed since you're subscribed when we have a new episode, but that's our goal. One episode a month. We do have a few of them planned out and ready to go, so you will be getting new content, don't worry. And anything else that we can release on our feed will just be a nice extra surprise. We've already done that a few weeks ago with Nicole's brand new to her vintage brunette machine. And if you want to check that out, that is on our Instagram. We did a live IGTV. Do they still call it an IGTV?
I don't know.
Who knows?
It's all reels, I think.
Right. So the best way to keep up with the latest updates is definitely our Instagram. And by subscribing to the pod, we will obviously be active on Instagram. It's going to be mostly me and Nicole and some of the team chiming in when they are free. And if you have more content that you would like us to share or repost that you think fits with, the ethos of the podcast, which is to elevate and amplify Asian voices within the sewing community, definitely send those to us. If I will just disclaim, again, we just said we both have two very full-time jobs. So if it's a story and we don't see it within 24 hours, we apologize. But if it is a post or if it's just a note that we can reshare, definitely do that. We will most likely come back to you and ask if you haven't already explicitly told us that we have permission to reshare, if we can have permission to reshare. But yeah, that's what you can expect from us both in this podcast feed and on Instagram.
So thank you, everyone, for coming on this journey with us and sticking on this journey with us. We are so grateful for your listenership and your community. And we still have our coffee page and we are still selling our labels. And, we do need to raise funds for things like editing and transcription software and to keep our website up to date. So you can check us out, ko-fi.com/Asian Sewist Collective. And you can become a member or you can do one-off donations or pay what you want for our labels. So thank you again for your understanding, your patience, and your continued support. Do you love this podcast? Do you like personalizing your sewing projects with sewing labels? Do you know someone who loves personalizing their projects with these labels? Or do you know someone who just loves sewing? If the answer is yes to any of those questions, please check out the Asian Sewist Collective's Sewing Label Collection. New for this season is a sustainability set. Our very own producer and artist Mariko Abe designed these just for you with sayings like lovingly rescued fibers and I'm thrifty and I know it. These labels would be a perfect gift for your sewing friends and family and, of course, for you. We also have our original collection of labels up on our Ko-fi page. To purchase, please go to ko-fi.com/Asian Sewist Collective. Your purchase goes towards helping this all-volunteer podcast keep going by helping with things like editing, transcripts, and publishing. Your support is greatly appreciated. All right. Well, one of the things I should have started out with was saying Happy New Year to everyone. It is 2024. And Ada and I were fortunate to go on a little holiday for the both of us. Not together. Sorry, I should make that clear. Although I would love that.
Dream.
Right? That's the dream. We both recently went on vacation and we'll tell you all about it because we're here to talk about what we saw, what we bought, and I thought, you'd like to see. So this video will be on YouTube for you to look at, but of course we'll do our best to be descriptive. And, Ada, let's start with you. Where did you go?
I thought you were going to start that intro with like Happy New Year. Also, it's about to be the Lunar New Year, so Happy New Year for everyone else who's celebrating. I know you don't, but it's me.
I was going to say happy like Gregorian New Year. And I was like, wow, what a nerdy way to introduce the podcast. I was like, maybe you go back. You can hear the hesitation in my voice. I was like, oh, it's almost Lunar New Year too. Anyway.
So where did
yeah. Go ahead.
Where did I go? I was really lucky to go to Japan and Taiwan. First trip back to anywhere in Asia since the pandemic. So we started out in we flew into Tokyo from the East Coast. So first we went back to visit some family. We went to Tokyo for a day, flew up to Sapporo, which is on the island of Hokkaido in Japan, so very far north, very snowy and cold. We did the city of Sapporo for a few days, which was really nice. Didn't get to do any fabric shopping there. Then we went in the opposite direction. We went all the way south to Taiwan. My friend from college, who is also Taiwanese, she decided to do her wedding and her wedding banquet in Taiwan. And
Oh,
that was actually really nice because her now husband's family is all on that side of the Pacific, so they were able to come. And a whole bunch of people from college who I haven't seen in a really long time were there. And he also went to the same college as us, and I forgot that we had overlapping friends. So talk about a reunion all the way across the world. That was really nice. We were actually only in Taiwan we were in Taipei for 2 nights, so about 36 hours. And did not really wanted to try to get to shopping. Raquel, who is I think Raquel in Asia on Instagram,
mhm.
is actually retired there, and we've chatted a bit about where to go fabric shopping. And I was so annoyed I didn't have time to reach out to her, and I didn't have time to go fabric shopping. I was literally just
Oh,
there for my friend's wedding, and hopefully we'll have more time on the next trip to hang out, visit more people. But flew back to Sapporo, went skiing, which, if you have ever done a sport in your country and then go see it done in a different country, highly recommend because the etiquette is usually the same but a little different. So, definitely interesting there. And then we ended our trip with one last night and half day in Tokyo, which is when I got to squeeze in some sewing because we had a little more time in Tokyo. We had a few more hours than we thought we actually did. So I was able to convince my lovely partner to accompany me.
wow, that sounds like a lot of like movement within a small area. So, how long were you overseas?
I was overseas for about a week and a half. So,
Whoa.
but my whole trip was actually about 2 weeks because we went back to the East Coast first and then we went straight there. So I think I spent 4 or 5 days on the East Coast, one day bookending each part of the trip in Tokyo, 3 or 4 days in Sapporo, 3 or 4 days up in Niseko, which is where we went skiing, and 2 days ish in Taiwan. So yeah, about a week and a half.
That sounds like a very fast week and a half.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of back and forth, and we had planned some of the luggage. We did have to buy a duffel bag to bring some stuff home because I didn't plan on buying that much stuff, and then I got a little too excited.
I mean, while you're over there, right? You might as well.
I was trying to be good. I was trying
Mm,
to be good.
fair, fair. So, just to back up, Raquel, she's in Taiwan?
Yeah, she's in Taiwan. I believe she lives either in Taipei or near Taipei because the
Okay.
places we've discussed are in the city.
Okay. Okay. Next time. I've only been
Next
in
time.
Taipei Airport and it was really nice. So,
It's gotten a lot nicer.
oh, okay. I was like, wow, this might actually be the nicest airport I've ever been to while we were laying over on the way to the Philippines in 2018. It was good stuff. But
Yeah.
so you got to go out for just for a little bit for fabric or for sewing stuff. So what did you end up seeing?
So listeners probably have heard this on other podcasts or blog posts. There is a neighborhood. I don't know if it's technically in Tokyo or just outside of, but it's called Nippori Fabric Town, Nippori. And it's just this street full of fabric and notions haberdashery shops.
Ooh.
It's kind of like a sewing paradise because you get off of the subway, the metro, and you see arrows immediately. Like the exits point you. They're like Newport Fabric Town this way. You walk over like 2 blocks and it's just a street. And I think quite a few folks have actually gone and shown it off on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm definitely not the first, nor will I be the last to go there. I had about an hour and a half to get in and get out before we had to kind of head back to our hotel to pick up our stuff and go to the airport.
Mhm.
So we were on a time crunch, and I explicitly told my partner, like, we're on a time crunch. You are my timekeeper because you're not really looking at the fabrics here. So you're on that. And I didn't realize that I was going to have that time until the night before. So I did some quick research and decided that the best use of my time in that limited time would be to hit up one of the biggest shops there, which is Tomato. And
Yep.
Tomato is, I don't know if they're technically a chain, but they have multiple locations within Nipuri Fabric Town.
Hmm.
And so they have like, I think 4 or 5 stores along that street on different blocks. And they are on both sides of the street. It's really, you can't miss it because the big awning says tomato and then there's a drawing of a tomato.
Hmm.
I decided to go to the main building because it was the biggest one and it felt like where I could see the most stuff that would be unique. And this kind of applies to all of the souvenirs and my kind of general shopping while traveling philosophy. I am not that person who wants to buy something that I could buy at home unless,
Oh, yeah.
I'm replacing something where I need it. It's stuff I can't get anywhere else or would be more
Yep.
difficult. Now with the internet and, shipping nowadays, that's definitely changed what I bring back, right? Because in the olden days, right, before BB creams were a thing here, I would have to buy a BB cream in Asia and then haul it back in my suitcase. Now I could buy that online. Like,
Yeah.
so it's definitely shifted what I can buy and what I want to buy there. So I was prioritizing fabrics that I couldn't necessarily source here or wouldn't get as much of a selection of here. So the Tomato main store has 5 floors, I believe, and
Whoa.
you're supposed to actually, so it's a little different from some of the fabric stores here where you would like shop it all and then tally it up at the end. You shop by floor and check out on each floor, which is really fun because each floor has a different theme. They
Oh.
have really helpful guides next to the very tiny elevator and the stairs. And we were there, it was a Friday, kind of mid morning, and it
Ooh.
was busy.
Really?
Yeah, not just with tourists. Definitely, there were a few tourists, and there were lots of people just shopping so they could make their own things for their own homes. It seemed like some were local, some were definitely fashion students because there are some fashion schools nearby, as well. I think places that you can take sewing and fashion classes. So it's a great
Mm.
place to get your supplies. So at first, when we stepped in, I was like looking at the markdowns on the first floor because they have some, not like seconds. Basically, they have like a seconds section on the
Yeah.
first floor. They also have like a discount section, and then they have remnants and they have pre-cuts and they have a whole bunch of stuff. Then I realized that there were 4 more floors, and since I had to check out on every floor, I should really walk from the top down,
Yes, that's what I would have done.
right? And actually, we took the elevator all the way to the top floor and worked our way down.
Yep.
I think I didn't purchase on every floor because not every floor had things I really wanted to bring back. And I had, at that point, calculated how much luggage space I had. So I had about a full backpack that I could bring back. So we went top down, knowing what kind of Sanrio characters that you were into and what kind of characters I'm into and all that stuff. So first, we went to the characters floor. And
There's
I
like
picked
the whole floor is
not the
characters?
whole floor, but
Oh, it's still
like a
amazing.
yeah, like a half of the floor is characters.
Wow.
Yeah, you get a lot of Sanrio, you get the Pokemon, Gundam, you get a lot of Disney.
Sure.
And it was all sorts of like really cute stuff. A lot of it being like canvas, cotton, quilting, pre-quilted as well. And then you had like other cool patterns that weren't necessarily like branded characters, but like cute cats and dogs and like illustrations of things. So I spent a lot of time on that floor and I ended up picking up a Sanrio print for you and a
Thank
Sanrio print for
you.
me. And a few, I think 2 other prints that I thought that were really cool that were very Japan, for lack of a
Mhm.
better word. One of them was definitely like the mountain motif, but kind of done geometrically, and I thought it would be a nice textured cotton It's a single gauze, textured cotton single gauze, probably like t-shirt or not t-shirt, but like,
Box
woven
top.
shirt. Yeah, box top for the summer. So that was really nice. And then the other one, it was like, ooh, geometric pants for the summer since I'd been on that zero waist kick.
Uh-huh.
And that was lovely. And the one that I actually already made into zero waist pants was this floral corduroy that I found. It was actually a really light corduroy, and it was, I think, a high whale count, like a 21 whale, maybe. It was
What
double
does that
digits.
mean?
So whales are the number in a corduroy, like the number of uh, little columns that you have.
Mhm.
And I believe when
Per
you per inch, yeah, I believe when you
Okay.
refer to the number, it's like per inch. So it was like
Okay.
really lightweight and really small whales. And I just loved the idea of having a floral corduroy because that's something you don't see as much,
Nope.
right? And corduroy is like a fabric I could probably wear here, if not half of the year, a good like quarter of the year, right?
Yeah.
Winter. And you can layer it if it's light. So I've been wearing it on colder days with my um, merino base layers that I wear for skiing.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. So yeah, really love the corduroy. And that was the characters and prints floor. I can also tell you what I didn't buy on that floor. Is that I don't know if that's interesting to people.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to me because I just kinda wanna know what's there, whether you bought it or not, really.
So I one of the first fabrics I gravitated towards on the floor, but then didn't end up getting, was this cute strawberry print, where it was a solid. You had the option, I think, between white or light pink background, and then these like illustrated strawberries, and I just thought they were really cute. But the fabric, the substrate itself, right,
Mhm.
was a thicker, heavier weight twill cotton. I'm pretty sure it was 100% cotton. And I just couldn't see myself making it into anything I was actually going to use or wear. It just felt like if I got it, it would end up being an accessory and it wouldn't be something I was like excited about. And so I
Yeah.
held on to it and made my rounds and then found a few of the other things that I ended up buying and was like, okay, I'm going to put this back. But I was holding on to that and I think the mountain print, and they're both bolts. And the lovely gentleman helping on that floor came over and was like, here's a cart. And so they give you a big, it's kind of a tall, maybe 3 foot tall, almost like a laundry basket cart on four wheels that you can roll around and put your bolts in.
Oh, yeah.
And so they ask you to use that to take it around, and then you take it up to the cutting table, which is next to the checkout. And when I was getting my fabrics cut on that floor, there was another woman being helped who had brought her pattern pieces actually and was laying them out to see how much yardage or meterage, I guess, was needed.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I like that because, I mean, I will often go by the envelope or the the printed pattern, and I'll just say, "This is what I need." But if you bring it with you, and I would assume that people are cool with that, you can do your placement of the pieces and figure out, like, do I really need 2.5 or can I get away with 2.25, that type of thing. That's cool.
Yeah. So that was really fun. And we headed downstairs. I think we went through a fancy fabrics section, which I was like, I don't have any really fancy events coming up that I know of in the next year. So I'm good. I also have plenty of fancy dresses that I've made at this point that you all have heard about
Mhm.
and I would love to rewear. And I did actually rewear one of my dresses to my friend's wedding, which was nice. And then I think we got to a knits section where I would have loved some merino, like 100% merino, but it was all acrylic blends and
Oh,
kind of scratchy things and some cotton and terry that I wasn't really feeling, and then the cheap poly stuff. And so I was like, okay, we can move on. I have a lot of this at home where I don't need it.
yeah.
And we kept going, and there were some colorful faux fur that was worth a mention.
Mob wife aesthetic.
Mob wife aesthetic, but like neon mob wife Barbie, mob
Um,
wife goes to a rave. Yeah.
I mean, a mob wife wouldn't do that, but maybe be at the rave at the top in the balcony with their own table. That type of
Right,
thing.
supervising. And Yeah, so eventually we made it back to the first floor, and there had been some character prints that I had seen in the discount section that I went back to. And some of them I think were there was a Bichon one.
Oh,
And then there was actually one that was really funny. It was illustrations of different bowls of food, Japanese food, labeled with the hiragana and katakana spellings of the food. So that's like the alphabet kind of
mm-hmm.
letters versus the kanji like characters that are more similar to Chinese. And I can read a little bit, so I was reading some of that. It was like shrimp, like tempura, and then like ramen. It was really funny, and I was like, man, that's really cute. I just again have no use for this, and I was like,
Yeah.
if I could come up with a use or I knew somebody that I could make some, like this, I would be all over this. And I decided to put it back. And then I hopefully found some more American tourists who this one woman was asking her husband, can you read this? And looking at the fabric, being like, it's all food. I think I should get this. It's cute. And their adult daughter was like, looking at them like, do you really need this fabric? And I wanted to be like, she does though. On behalf of the person who right now who is exercising a lot of self-restraint, she does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
so that was that floor. And then in the back of that floor, they had some really nice double gauzes that were 100% cotton. Some were made in Japan, some were made in China. And then they had linen and then linen hemp blends and linen
Oh,
cotton
wow.
blends. It was like a woven paradise, which you know from knowing me and my sewing is my jam.
Yes.
So that's probably where I spent the majority of the rest of my time.
Yeah.
And I was able to find, I ended up getting smaller cuts of these because they were a bit pricier. Like, I think
Sure.
the other fabrics I had gotten ranged between like 600 to 1600 yen per meter, which with the exchange rate right now is anywhere from a little over $5 to like $10 ish plus per meter.
Mm-hmm.
The fancy, nice wovens in the back started, I think, around like the 2,500 to 3,000, maybe 4,000 yen per meter. So, like, up there, right? Like, they're the nice quality wovens that we all love to look at and touch.
Yeah.
So, those I got a couple colors, and the brand, I guess, of one of them was Aradaki Some. So Aradaki space Some.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I am pronouncing it correctly because all of the tags were in Japanese and then I was like plugging it into Google Translate. But basically, from what I can tell, um, it's a special like dyed linen from Toyama. And basically, it's a very craftsman quote unquote fancy fabric, so it's like dyed in a special slow process in a smaller batch than like what you would normally see, which I think explains some of the price. But the
Mm-hmm.
textile is like kneaded and worked almost like bread. And it's
In
got
the
this
dye?
really, yeah, I think in the dye vat, and it's like got this really soft texture. Like even before I pre-washed them, they
Mm-hmm.
just felt really silky, almost buttery smooth for a linen.
Oh.
And it had like a really nice, you know how some linens, even when you wash them, they got that like crispy like wrinkle.
Yeah, yeah.
This was not a crispy wrinkle. This was like a soft, like nice natural kind of wrinkle. And so also each batch is like done on its own, so no batch is the same. So I've got some nice greens and pinks to work with, which I'm sure listeners will see on my feed at some point very soon because as soon as I got home, they went right in for pre washing and right onto my rack for drying. And yeah, that was basically about it. Once I checked out on that floor, I had to stuff it all in my backpack, make sure it actually fit so it would fit on the way home. They
Yeah.
actually have a packing table on the side, which is really funny because I started packing on the floor because I have no shame. Hashtag Americans abroad.
Do what you gotta
And
do.
do what you gotta do. But then I saw they had a packing table and there were a few people over there like repacking their bags and fitting everything in. So yeah, in total, I think I spent just shy of like $120 on
Mhm.
fabric, which is actually really impressive considering the amount that I got. But the exchange rate right now is in our favor. And once we were done with that, I had a fairly heavy backpack to walk back to our hotel with. So yeah,
It sounds like you made the most of your hour and a half,
I did.
really
And then
getting that.
we passed quite a few, notions, haberdashery shops, and I had to really resist the urge to go inside. Oh, I
Ooh,
also,
yeah.
when we left that shop, I realized that the Tomato is known for having a discount store.
Hmm.
Like one of their locations is a discount store where they have like 100 yen wall.
Oh.
Right, so 100 yen per meter, which right now is under $1, which is wild. And I ended up seeing that, like realizing it was really close. So we just popped in to take a look. I totally understand the appeal. I love a good bargain, value shopper, but I saw a lot of those fabrics and I was like, oh, poly chiffon. I don't
Yeah.
need poly chiffon in my life. Or, oh, it's like a poly knit. Like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
what I need in my life right now. And so there were tons of people in there as well shopping. I did see quite a few more of like the folks who look like fashion students in there as well.
Yeah.
Definitely looking for materials for projects. But yeah, that was also quite a large selection and large variety on the wall. So if you are going to Japan and you're going to be in Tokyo and you have time to go to Nippori Fabric Town, you definitely need at least an hour and a half for one store.
Mhm.
Choose wisely, but also there's a lot to see and touch. And oh my gosh, I would definitely highly recommend.
I would probably plan for like half a day in that area.
I was going to say a day.
Or full day, fine. Full day. You don't have to tell me twice. I have the ones that you got me here. So if folks want to see. So for those who don't know, like what is Sanrio? We didn't say the most like the most popular character in Sanrio, but like what is Sanrio?
Okay. Sanrio is a company, a Japanese company with a lot of branded characters. If you've ever heard of Hello Kitty, that's probably Sanrio's biggest, most famous character. She
Yep.
is a fictional British kitty girl
Mhm.
who has now been around for, was it 30 years, 50 years? There was some anniversary celebration
It's
going on
gotta be
recently.
longer than 30 because I'm older than that and I remember her being around for much longer.
And I remember growing up that it was really hard to get anything Sanrio branded here. Like it was also always
Yeah.
expensive. So like
Mhm.
everything that I had that was Hello Kitty, like a Hello Kitty binder, I can very clearly picture it right now. Used that thing to death in high school and brought it to college. No shame. I had a Kiropi, which is this little like frog character compact mirror with a brush. Everything
Cute.
I had from Sanrio, I was like, I treasured, which I think
Yeah.
similar, right?
Yeah, same. We growing up, my sister and I were like obsessed, and we're children of the early 90s, so we loved all that stuff, and you could only find it at like one store called Zany Brainy, which was like there was one kiosk at Zany
I remember
Brainy.
Zany Brainy.
And that's it. There's just one kiosk that had Sanrio, and like they have the prices on each item, and it was a lot for what it was, and like we would only be allowed to get like one small thing. But Pachaco is the character that's like my character. My sister's was Karopi. So yes, Hello Kitty, very
I'm
popular.
a
Love
Hello
I.
Kitty stan.
You are okay, yeah. No, me too. Love her, and I have more Sanrio now as an adult because I have income. But and I have good friends that think of me when they're in Japan. So you got me this cotton Pachaco. It's so cute. This is really for the viewers because you saw this yourself, but it's so cute. And if you ask me what I'm going to make with it, I have no idea. No idea, but I'm thinking like I kind of want to make like a zippered pouch set,
Yeah,
travel set. I think that would be really cute.
that would be
Yeah.
adorable.
And then I have this like Bichon looking fabric from you as well. because of my
Yeah,
ZZ.
it's like the tan Bichon fabric. This one I
Yeah.
actually like. There was the Bichon fabric similar to the ones that we've both ordered online, but then I saw this one and it was a little different. I was like, this one
Yeah.
might even look more like the.
Yeah. I've not seen this one before, so thank you for thinking of me. Something that you had said when you were describing it. So when I was in Valencia last year, there's a place called Julian Lopez, which
Oh
is
yeah, you
the
told us about this.
same sort of thing. It was like 5 stories of shops. The top floor was like $500 per meter, like silks and stuff for their special festival. But just the experience of going through the floors, it really reminded me a lot of that. And I can't think of anything near me or even in America that has that same experience. Like
Ooh, I do know.
where okay, say more.
If you ever go to Britex Fabrics in San Francisco, Britex, they are just off of Union Square. I used to pass them all the time going to work, pre-sewing. But like big fashion lover here, so I would always like stand outside the window and look what they
Yeah.
had. Like brocades, tweeds, boucles, any type of like fancy fabric they had a lot of. And they have, I think it's either 2 or 3 floors, and they have like a clearance section. And so it is kind of similar. I don't think you have to cut everything on the same floor you're on, but maybe
Yeah.
you do. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's more of those in like San Francisco and not so much in New York. I think most of the fabric district stores I've been to in New York are one floor, but they're also
Yeah.
quite large.
Yeah, yeah, they can be sprawling, yeah. Which for whatever reason, different floors for me sounds like it'd be more easily navigable, but I suppose it's all the same. But and so another thing you mentioned a few times, prints, and I love those floral corduroys. If you asked me to describe your style, Prince is not really in there. Not that
No.
you're anti-Prince, but, something about what you were telling me, I was like, "Oh, so this store brought out the print lover in Ada." Did you get any solid colors? Is, like, the fancy fabric, were those solid greens and pinks?
The linens and linen blends were solid.
Okay.
um, Very, very on brand. Also, I was thinking like, some of them are my brand color, and I can maybe
True.
wear some things that I make some things that I could wear technically for work or for, a new headshot or something like that. And I'm very much like into that. So you'll see it
Yeah.
on the grid at some point with me and my packaging next to it. It will. I think it'll be cute. Um, but I will say you're right. I'm not a big Prince person normally, day to day. Not even like basic checkers or uh, pretty repetitive prints. I'm very like solids and solid colors, and I stick within a range. And I have been trying to push myself a little bit with the branded green colors, or as close as I can find.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it was something about that floral. I'm really particular, I think, when it comes to prints.
Yeah.
And so something about seeing that floral, because there was enough spacing in it and the repeats were cool and the specific colorway was this like dark navy, almost black, that really just was something where I could say, oh, I own all these other creams and blues, blacks, and grays that would actually like play off nicely off of the colors in the print. I will
Mhm.
say I was looking for one specific type of print that is only available in Japan. The specific Liberty Hello Kitty prints, where
Did you
Hello Kitty's
find
like
it?
in there. No, I think I was actually a few weeks early for that release, and so I did not find it. You can definitely find it online. I thought it would be really special if I could find it there. As we've established, I'm not a traditional Liberty kind of person. Like my
Yeah.
previous purchases from Liberty have been prints, but they've been either like bigger scale, like the Suncatcher
Yeah.
dress from Ella that I made and I wore to the Eras tour, or some of the other like solid repeats that I've gotten, in silk to make t-shirts. I think I also picked up a Liberty print from Sister Mintaka before the last time when
Mhm.
I was in the UK. So yeah, I'm a mixed print kind of person. We're working on it. But yeah, I saw that pop up on my feed this week and it's like, ah, dang, I just missed it. But I'm sure there will be another opportunity to find it. And, even if I had purchased that, I think I would really struggle personally with finding a make and a pattern that I would want to use it for.
Look, if I find it somewhere online, and it's like not like friendly shipping rates, do you want to go in on it? Because
Just talk to me when you find it.
okay. Ooh, now I'll see. I think I need to be a personal shopper because I love sort of the thrill of shopping, which I realize is highly consumeristic and bad for the environment. But I could be like a thrifter too and like a resale. Anyway, that's beside the point. But that sounds really awesome. I know that, my husband and I think our next big trip is gonna big like multi-week trip is gonna be to East and Southeast Asia. I'd like to, like he definitely wants to do Japan. I don't know if he's knows what it would take to plan to go to Japan, but and I'd like to see other parts of Asia as well. Being in Australia, which uh is this might seem counterintuitive, but like being on that side of the world kind of made me really want to explore more of that. And granted, Australia is in the southern hemisphere and Japan is in the northern, but we were in the almost the same time zone,
Yeah,
which
pretty
was
close.
which was awesome. Once I realized that you were in Japan and I was in Australia, I was like, wait, are we in the same time zone? Like, and it was very, very close. So it was fun to be able to like message you during the day and everything too. Um, so spoilers, that's where I went. I went
Yeah,
to
I was about to
Australia.
say, nice segue. You were in Australia for how long?
I was there for 3 weeks.
Ooh.
I landed on a Friday and I left on a Friday. But the funny thing about going that far is that I left on a Wednesday and I got there on Friday. And it's still, yes, I got the day back on the way back, but like
Yeah.
I just didn't have a Thursday. Like it just wasn't there. Um, and we decided we were going to go. It is our 10-year wedding anniversary this year. We just happened a couple of days ago, and we said we as in me. I said let's do something big. And I have a lot of family in Australia. Some of my mom's siblings immigrated there. She came to America, and so I've got lots of family there. And so we decided to spend Christmas and New Year there. But Michael and I were just the two of us for the first week. Like, I'm glad we built that time in just the two of us. And we spent a few days in Melbourne City. My cousins live out in the suburbs, kind of like how I live out in the suburbs. And we've spent a few days in Sydney as well, just the two of us, before coming back for all of the Christmas festivities. And I had the time to go to lots of places. So, not an hour and a half at any one, but lots of different places. But we're going to be speedy about this because we've been talking for a while, but I think it's, of course I went. Of course I went. So, went shopping multiple days, different times. I did. So, big box, Spotlight.
Okay.
A lot of our
Yeah.
listeners, I think, will be familiar with Spotlight. I've heard it often compared to, at least their fabric section, Joanne, here in the United States. Have you been to Spotlight, Ada?
I've not. I actually don't think I hit up any sewing shops in Australia while I was working because I wasn't actually like sewing yet.
Yeah. So Spotlight is it's kind of like Joanne, but I feel like it has more houseware. So it's like Bed Bath and
Okay.
Beyond with a
Whoa.
sewing section. I don't know, in my at least
Oh,
the ones I
housewares like
went to.
finished housewares, like curtains you
Yeah.
can buy.
And bedding, and I think there were maybe like some appliances, like I can't remember. I was very jet lagged for like that first week. There were a lot of naps. Um, so that's the Spotlight. They're everywhere. You can find them everywhere. And the big thing that I got there, so knowing that it's like the bargain, store and not like a small boutique type of store, I was like, okay, well, I know what I'm gonna look for here. But when we went there, I think if it wasn't the first day, it was basically like keep Nicole awake to fight jet lag. We'll drag her to Spotlight. And that by then their Christmas cotton, like quilting cottons, were 70% off. So I got a lot of like single yards of Christmas themed fabric with marsupials.
Oh my
So
god, yes.
unlike you, I didn't stop myself and say, "What am I gonna do with this?" Because I don't know.
Yeah, but I
And
had way less luggage space. This makes sense.
I had a lot. We did all 4. We only did 3 on the way there, but we really only had to buy the 4th luggage or bring the 4th luggage, which we just asked our cousin who has an extra one, and it turns out they bought it in America the last time they were there and brought it back. So it's made its way home.
It's Nicole's family luggage. It's like the
Yeah,
sisterhood of the traveling pants. Nicole's family
exactly.
has a
Ex
sisterhood, familyhood of the traveling suitcase.
this always happens, and so I'm grateful that we're able to actually, I didn't have to buy new luggage or anything like that. But, it was mostly gifts for family, like, all the
Mm,
family there wanted us to ferry gifts here, which was a lot. I'm happy to do that, like, it's
yeah.
a lot of fun. So none of that Christmas fabric is here. It stayed in Australia.
So you're saying you bought enough that it did not fit.
Correct. Here's the thing. My cousin is getting married in August, and some are already coming from Australia. So someone in that caravan of people that is coming will stick it in their luggage, and it's Christmas themed. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. What am I gonna do with a wallaby with the Santa hat? Like, oh, I can't. I still don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm like, I think I would love to make just like gift bags, or tea
Yeah.
towels. That would be so cute. And but yeah, they were like 70% off, maybe even 80. I can't remember, but I was like, well, buying this. Um, and then we stayed downtown in the city proper, and I just happened to walk by a place called Lincraft, which is also like Spotlight, but I think cheaper in my opinion. It seemed like less expensive. Um, I bought some yardage just because I thought I was gonna do some hand sewing on the plane of like a poly satin. I can show you. I have visuals, Ada.
Oh, nice.
You know me. I have visuals. Um, just because I thought it'd be fun to like hand sew something with this.
Ooh.
But then I didn't because jet lag. Because most of my time awake, if I wasn't exploring or eating, I was sleeping, um, which is fine. But yeah, I picked that up. And so those are the big box stores. And then I'm going to start with what I skipped. Now,
Ooh.
yeah.
Hot take.
One was by choice, one was just a failure of scheduling. So I did not go to Tasudi.
Okay.
Have you heard of Tasudi?
Yep. I think Tasudi might be the most well known of the ones you've mentioned so far.
Yeah, so Tasudi is like when I was looking at I was down the block from my hotel when I was staying downtown. I stayed with family those latter 2 weeks. And I looked at the website and it said, like finest European imports. And I was like, nah, no. Like I'm not gonna go to Australia and buy European imports. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip it. It's like if I have time, I'll check it out. Jet lag. So no. Um,
Okay, fair.
and then what I ended up skipping, and I didn't mean to skip it, and it's okay that it happened, the fabric store. And
That
I
big ol'
think
store.
yeah, so it's from what I understand, very popular in the sewing community. It's also known for its a lot of its New Zealand and Australian sourced wools, and I have almost ordered from there before, and the shipping's fine, it's reasonable. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be in Australia. I'm going to go to the store, and my cousin and I planned a day to go fabric shopping, and it was well past. I think it was like January 3rd or something when most of the places like open up again. It's past the New Year holiday. And there's a neighborhood in Melbourne called Fitzroy, which I would describe as like a hipsterish kind of neighborhood, which is great. It is really nice, but there are multiple stores there, and we were planning on like hitting them up, just on foot. We got to the fabric store and they were still closed for the holiday, and I was like, no, why? And I was like looking through the window, like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't meant to be. And that's the only store that they have in Melbourne, but they have different locations like throughout Australia and of course in New Zealand. So I just wanted to touch what they had, and
But
I
if it
couldn't.
makes you feel better, I have ordered their merino in the past, like
Mm-hmm.
100% merino.
Mm-hmm.
I've sewn it up into Nico tops, Nico dresses, tank tops. And I think yeah, the Wayland tank I've done. It's just, base layers. I've used scraps of it to make glove liners, which is really fun. But
Oh.
I would actually say the fabric that you got me, which I'm sure you'll get to in a bit, was also a merino, and that one was nicer.
Oh, good to know. Good to
Like,
know.
that's my hot take. You actually found some nicer merino. And I was like, what? Like, I already knew. I think I've chatted about the fabric store merino quality and
Mhm.
particular like this fabric's recovery and the care instructions for it with quite a few folks in the sewing community on Instagram. And
Yeah.
while it is definitely an affordable option, it's not necessarily everybody's favorite option.
Okay. Good to know. It was fortuitous, I suppose, that I missed out on that. So yeah, sad, but apparently not too sad. All right, no worries. Um, there was a place in downtown Melbourne called Morris and Sons, and it is actually traditionally a needlework shop. So it's known for knitting and crocheting, like that kind of stuff. But when I looked online, and this was down the street from where I was staying downtown, it said they also had like fabric. So I was like, all right, let's check it out. It was really cute. I went to the it was just rolls of fabric, like the big ones that are leaned up against the wall, and I was looking at it and it said, "Oh, all fabric, I don't know, 60% off or whatever." And I spoke to one of the people that worked there, and she said, "Oh, these are all actually even further discounted because the owner of this location thought that we were going to turn into like a dressmaking store, but it didn't really take off." So, I mean, their people are knitters and sewers. So, I got a couple of really nice cuts of fabric, and they're in true Ada fashion, solid colors.
Woo!
Where are they? They are knits, and one is, I pulled up the tag. It is an Italian designer knit, and it's 90% viscose and 10% cashmere.
Ooh, so it's
So
soft.
it's very soft, super soft. And it has but it has like a four-way stretch,
Oh,
and it's really it, it's you can see the light through it, so it's
yeah.
like tissue weight, but it would make a really nice like long sleeve, simple long sleeve, or even like a mock neck, I think, or a
Mm.
t-shirt. But I was like, "Ooh, cashmere. Hello." I couldn't tell you how much anything was, honestly, because I was sort of operating on the whole like American discount, which is with the exchange rate, everything was like 40% off. So it
Yeah.
was like 10 Australian dollars. It was like $6 American. And then I got this mustard. Let me pull up what it. I had to like take a picture of the tags, of course. This is a silk viscose, 30% silk, 70%
Ooh.
viscose. It's like a it's also thin, but nice and light.
Nice drape.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So that came from Morris and Sons. So hot tip if you're in Melbourne, Morris and Sons has fabric. Um, so that was one, and then in the Fitzroy area, there's a place called Drapers. Um, it's a really small store, and that's where I got the merino wool that I sent you. And I got a few other things, but what I ended up doing was just buying remnants. Um,
Oh.
because they had like a remnant, they had different remnant areas. And yes, there were rolls, of stuff, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to be buying big pieces anyway. So I picked up that merino wool. It's a gray marled merino, which I hope
Yeah.
to make into a base layer, probably just a mock neck.
Right?
Um, it's really nice, and it's got a two-way stretch though, so
Yep.
that's not that big a concern, right? Like
I think as long as
for
you're not making it into like base layer leggings or pants, right? Like that,
right.
you want some four-way stretch to, not bust a seam.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not interested in busting a seam. Thank you very much. So I got that at Draper's, and then I also got this cotton seersucker.
Ooh,
It's
stripes.
really cute. Yeah, it's like railroad stripes, and seersucker is not something I've worked with, so I think it was one of the things where it was affordable, and it's about 1.5 meters, but super wide. It's a dark gray and white stripe, and I was just kind of draping it over myself, and I kind of think I don't think it could work with pants because my thighs would have conversations that would bust the inside pretty quickly. But I think like it would be a super cute shirt, or even, are you familiar with the Sewing Mason Atlas wrap dress?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I feel like that would be kind of cute to play with the stripes and stuff.
Oh, that would be cool.
But yeah, Drapers, I highly recommend. I think it's like a really cute store, and the person that was there was just one person working the shop, and she was really sweet. And then there's a place called Darn Cheap Fabrics, and so I was like, all right, let me check it out. I'm managing my expectations here. Maybe
Hey,
it's like the like 100 yen
give
wall.
them credit for knowing what to name their shop so that you can find it on the interwebs.
Exactly, exactly. SEO for the win.
Right,
And
right.
I was there. I went there. So it worked on me. But I was like, a lot of it was poly chiffon, like polyester. But I did find this really nice linen cotton blend that is also
Ooh.
mustard. It has a really nice weight, and I do like linen, but I like when it's blended as well because then it doesn't wrinkle as much. And this is, I think this is suitable enough for a bottom weight. So I was thinking
Oh,
like
okay.
maybe culottes pants set or something. Um, but yeah, those were like my in-store purchases, because one of the things that I did
Oh, no.
was was order a lot of Nerida Hansen in advance and have it shipped to my cousin's house.
Honestly, great plan.
Yeah, I mean, why not? She didn't know at first, and she's like, "Is this yours?" I'm like, "Of course it is. What are you talking? Of course it is." Have you sewn with Nerida Hansen? Are you familiar with
No,
the
I mean,
designer?
yeah, I've seen it, and definitely interesting to me. Have not sewn with it.
So everything is patterned and
Mhm.
colorful. And I really love the prints. So I did actually, what was some solids? You saw my solids. I'm just like, let's do change it up a little bit. But I did place like 4 different orders because I was like, "Oh, this is cute," and I'd buy something. And then this started in May of last year. So this was like, and I wasn't there until December, so she's just hanging on to all of it. But I've heard really good things about the quality of the fabric, and that's why, cuz like I can't feel it, right? So this is their like a cotton sateen,
Ooh,
and it's so soft. None of it's been washed yet, but like come on now. Like look
it's
at
like a
that. That is
basket weave print, kind of.
It is. It's when my brother was a kid, he used to say when something made him dizzy that it made him busy. So makes you busy. I still say it. Everyone in our family still says it. Nerida Hansen also collaborates with Indigenous artists. And so they do have some prints, and this is their linen. So this is an indigenous print. I don't know what the symbols mean, but I was wanted to support indigenous artists in Australia. So I envision, shirts
Yeah.
made out of that. And then this is just like so cute. Look at that.
It's got colors. Is it floral or
Yeah, I
leaves?
think it's like a leaf thing. I don't know. It's just
Listeners,
really
if you're
bright.
only listening and not on YouTube, there's like a rainbow and leaves, and it kind of looks like a radish.
Yeah.
And if
Oh
I
yeah.
looked at it, it screams Nicole would buy this and not me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very me. What am I going to make with it? I don't know. It's currently raining, and it had been snowing and freezing, and so this really just warms the heart. But here's like another cotton sateen that is more subdued than what it's a dark green
Floral.
navy with, yeah, like taupe orange floral. It's a really like beautiful pattern, but the quality of the fabric is so nice. I am glad that I purchased it. Um, because I can order it, but like it's just there's not a lot of places that you can order it. And then like if you buy directly from her and ship to Australia, or from the designer, it was cheaper or
Yeah.
less expensive. So I went with that. So that's what I got. I got a lot, and I'm in that mode now where I'm like, I don't want anything else. Like, I don't want to buy anything else. I don't need anything else. Um, because I had such a successful trip, and I'm really excited to start working with these new fabrics and to see how I can work them into my style. So
Yeah. I mean, we always say sew the good fabric, right? And that's a lot
yes,
of good fabric that you can sew.
it is. I'm not afraid to mess up. I'll still wear it as long as it fits,
Oh,
and for as long as
I've
I
been
want.
cutting twirls.
Oh, you have been? You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I'm like, it's fine. Like, I mean, I will oversize it and then tweak if I need to. But I haven't, like, besides the ironing board, I haven't really done anything yet because I've been kind of I've been jet lag /sick since I got back. So hopefully I can get started soon and then look forward to when the weather warms up um, in the northern hemisphere.
Well, that kind of wraps up our haul episode. I think we both got a lot of fabric. Listeners, I hope you're not too jealous, but if you have ever gone traveling and brought back fabric, definitely let us know. We've had quite a few of our past guests mention that before. So Nandita on, I think, episode 2 talked about it. We talked about bringing some makes to travel and
Mm-hmm.
always posts those on her grid, which is great. I think Ella also at Handmade Millennial told us
Yep.
about her own purchases while traveling. So definitely tell us about your travel purchases, whether it's fabric or notions, or maybe like why or why not, and where you got that fabric and what you're going to make with it. But we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Happy traveling.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Asian Sewist Collective podcast. If you like our show, please consider supporting us on Ko-fi by becoming a one-time or monthly supporter, or by buying our sewing labels. Your financial support helps us with our overhead expenses. The link to our Ko-fi page is ko-fi.com/Asian Sewist Collective, and you can find the link in our show notes, on our website, and on our Instagram account. Check us out on Instagram at Asian Sewist Collective. That's one word, Asian Sewist Collective. You can also help us out by spreading the word and telling your friends. We would also appreciate it if you could rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
All of the links and resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes on our website. That's asiansewistcollective.com. And we'd love to hear from you. Email us with your questions, comments, or even voice messages if you want to be featured on future episodes at asiansewistcollective@gmail.com. Thank you so much to the other members of our collective who made this episode a reality. This is the Asian Sewist Collective podcast, and we'll see you next time.